the Nike Vaporfly 3. It's not every year we get a new Vaporfly. It's a special year when you get a new Vaporfly. And I spent a lot of time in the Vaporfly 3 this year. Partly because I was excited about it. Like I said, it's not often we get a new Vaporfly. But also I was trying to understand what this shoe was capable of. I've spent a lot of time in all the Vaporflies. 4%, the Vaporfly Next Percent 1 and 2. I knew what to expect from those shoes, but I didn't know what to expect from the Vaporfly 3. But the more I ran in the Vaporfly 3, the more I ran in this Vaporfly 3 in 2023, the more impressed I became with this shoe. This shoe did everything I asked of it, and it did it exceptionally well. It fit my foot better than any other Vaporfly, it wore better than any other Vaporfly, and it performed, for me, better than any other Vaporfly. It's a shoe that I was constantly excited to put on my foot. When I knew I had a workout coming up where I was going to run in this shoe, I was excited to go do that workout. And it's because of that this shoe, the Nike Vaporfly 3, earns my Shoe of the Year award for 2023. Now, I've made a ton of content about the Vaporfly 3 this year. I've done technical deep dives, design deep dives, I did a durability deep dive, and I've also done my initial impressions and 50-mile impression videos of this shoe. There's a lot of content. Plus, I've talked about it in a lot of other videos. I'll put a link in the description to all of the primary Vaporfly 3 videos if you're interested in going and watching all that stuff. I'm assuming many of you watching this video have probably watched them already. But like I said in the intro, it's not every year we get a Vaporfly. And this Vaporfly was a huge update from the previous Vaporflies that we've seen. So a lot of this was me exploring what was possible with this shoe. And again, it's really excelled my expectations. Now, this was the first pair of Vaporflies that I bought, and I bought 2 other pairs, and I'll explain why. But this was the first pair I bought back towards the end of April, which seems like forever ago, but this was the first pair I was running in. So a lot of the initial content for this shoe on this channel was this shoe. Now, between April and now, I put 367.7 kilometers, or about 228.5 miles on this shoe. This shoe has probably gotten the most miles that I've ever put on a Vaporfly, and durability wise it definitely shows its wear, but it's held up really well, and I've been really impressed with the durability of this shoe. Now, I'm a 4-foot striker, I'm landing up here, so I'm not destroying the heel. I also scuff my foot quite a bit, especially on my right foot, so I have worn the rubber and the waffles down on this, but again, the outsole on this shoe has worn very well. In fact, if I had even close to this amount of miles on a Vaporfly Next Percent 1 or 2, I would have worn through the rubber already, and probably you'd see the carbon fiber plate in the forefoot of that shoe. Not the case with the Vaporfly 3. So I've enjoyed running this shoe, but I've also had much better durability in this shoe over any other Vaporfly that I've ever run in. So this was the second pair that I bought sometime in the middle of August of 2023. And that's when I was just entering my build for New York City. And the reason that I bought this pair is because, Vaporflies traditionally, after about 100 to 120 miles, tend to soften up. The plate gets a little softer. And I was definitely noticing this one didn't have as much pop. So I bought this one for faster workouts, and I kept this one for my longer runs. Now, over the course of running in this shoe, I put 298.2 kilometers or 185.3 miles. And in fact, when I went to the States, I only brought this pair of Vaporflies with me, and I did all of my final long runs. Any run over 20K, I did in this shoe, specifically this shoe, because by the time I went to the States, this shoe already had close to 100 miles on it, just of tempo workouts and all the stuff I was doing here in Taiwan. So this was the perfect shoe for those long runs. And towards the end of the build, that last month of the marathon build, I wasn't doing any shorter, harder, faster stuff. I was doing longer runs with faster stuff in it, where this was perfect. And the reason it was perfect is, again, after about 100 to 120 miles in a pair of Vaporflies, they do soften up. Now, traditionally, back in the day with the 4% and the original Next Percent 1, the ZoomX foam would definitely pack out, but the plate definitely loses some of its pop. It sort of softens up. But after that 100 to 120 miles, the shoe becomes an excellent trainer. I depend on this shoe for sort of all of my long runs, all of my sort of fartlek runs, tempo runs, longer interval runs. And this was an excellent shoe for all of that. And especially in October, when I was doing pretty much 20 to 25K runs a couple times a week, this was optimal. So I did a lot of easy running in this shoe. I did a lot of marathon pace in this shoe. I did a lot of half marathon pace in this shoe. I didn't do much 5 or 10K pace in this shoe. But this shoe excelled at doing all of those paces across a range of terrain, from gravel to, asphalt, to bike paths, to dirt bike paths, wet leaves, because I was in Seattle in the fall. It did everything. And again, this shoe has worn exceptionally well. Again, little discoloration in the midfoot, but the outsole is completely intact. No problems in the heel, no problems in the upper. The durability in this pair has been excellent as well. And lastly, this was the final pair of Vaporfly 3s I bought in 2023. I got them in October, and I got them specifically as my race pair for the New York City Marathon. And I only have 45.5K or 28.3 miles in this shoe. Literally, I ran the New York City Marathon, and I did a quick 5K warm up just to make sure the shoe fit, everything was good in the shoe the day before. I've done very little in this shoe other than New York City Marathon. Now, the New York City Marathon didn't go the way I wanted it to. I'll put a link to videos talking all about that. But my problem at the New York City Marathon was not the shoe. It was me. And in fact, this shoe did the entire marathon and walked and jogged, kind of the last 12K or so of the race. And it still held up. I would never recommend to walk any more than, a few hundred feet in a Vaporfly. Definitely not a few miles. My feet were hurting walking in the shoe as much as I had to at the end of the race to just get over the finish line. But again, this isn't made for walking, so I'm fine with that. It's a race shoe. But again, I kind of finished off my Vaporfly purchasing of 2023 with this shoe. I don't necessarily plan on buying another one because this is going to be my race shoe moving forward into 2024. We have seen a bit of a shifting of the guard this year, and I'll admit that. The Vaporfly has not been as dominant in 2023 as it once was. We haven't seen this on as many podiums this year as we have in the past. Now, I do think that this shoe, the redesign of the Vaporfly 3, has muted the shoe down a little bit. I think it has made it a better Vaporfly for more runners. And I said this in my early technical reviews of this shoe. Now, if you're an elite runner and you're going for a world major podium or win, and you're looking for every fraction of marginal gain you can possibly get, probably the Next Percent 1 or 2 is that much more optimal, that much more aggressive. But you need the form, you need the strength, you need the training to get the most out of that. For the other 99.5% of us, this shoe is a better Vaporfly. It's more versatile, it's more accommodating, it doesn't punish bad form as much. And, the amount of walking that I did towards the end of the New York City Marathon because my legs blew up, I couldn't have done that in a Vaporfly Next Percent 1 or 2. Not that it was comfortable, but I got it done in the Vaporfly 3. Not that that's a ringing endorsement of the Vaporfly 3's performance, but that's the point I'm trying to make, is that this shoe is much more accommodating. And again, I think us average runners benefit much more from this design. Like I said, it's more accommodating. It will work for many more foot strikes. You don't have to have optimal form, because if you didn't have optimal form or you weren't right up on your toes in the Next Percent 1 or 2, that shoe would punish you. This shoe doesn't punish you. But all that being said, this is still the Vaporfly. It's still a very fast shoe, and it's no slouch. So moving forward into 2024, I don't have any road races planned. But if I do, I'm going to race them probably in this shoe, in this exact pair. Like I said, I don't plan on buying another pair of these. unless I really need to, because I've got everything covered with the 3 pairs that I have. This one feels nice and soft. It's a great long run shoe. This one's still got a lot of pop left in it, but it's getting there to be like an optimal long run shoe. And this one, frankly, is still pretty fresh. And this will be the race shoe that I would use if I did any sort of racing in 2024. So while this shoe hasn't been as dominant on, world major marathon podiums as it has in the past, and the Adidas Adios Pro Evo 1 and the Nike Vaporfly 3 seem to be set for the top tier marathon race shoes for 2024, I'll be curious what actually happens with this shoe over the course of next year and into 2025. Like I said, I don't think we're going to see a new version of this shoe until 2025. And I'll be curious what Nike actually does with this shoe. Now, next year in 2024, we will see, obviously, we've already seen the Vaporfly 3, but we may see a Streakfly 2 or some sort of plated racing flat that sort of sits below this shoe for those shorter distances. Maybe brings back some of the aggression that the Next Percent 1 and 2 had. So we'll see where this shoe now slots into the line. I'm really curious what Nike does with this shoe, but overall, the closing statements I'll say about this shoe is I think it's been a masterful redesign. I think it's the best Vaporfly to date, and it's going to be hard for Nike to one-up this one. Even with some of the problems that I know some people have had, I still think it's going to be hard for Nike to match this design and better it moving forward into the future. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. If you like this type of content, consider subscribing. You'll see more content from me pop up in your feed. If not, drop a like on this video because it helps this channel continue to grow, which I always appreciate. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.